This is a Fox News alert. Earlier this evening, CIA Director Mike Pompeo slammed the New York Times for outing an undercover CIA officer. Let's bring in Fox News' Ed Henry for more on this story. Ed.
Dana, good to see you. A dramatic development tonight. This is happening at the Aspen Security Forum. This is an annual event out in Colorado where every summer these various security officials, military leaders get together and talk about the top issues of the day. Russian interference, by the way, in the last presidential election was also a major topic. We'll get into that because Rich Pompeo, the CIA director, also got frustrated by a series of questions from reporters and panelists about that. But what he was particularly angry about, the president and CIA director, is the fact that the New York Times back in early June published an account of the new chief of Iran operations at the Central Intelligence Agency. And they basically named this official even though he's a clandestine official and his identity is supposed to be secret. The CIA director teed off on the New York Times for publishing his name.
We had a publication, you work for it, Brett, that published the name of an undercover officer at the Central Intelligence Agency. I find that unconscionable.
Now, Fox News is also withholding the identity of this CIA official because the New York Times, in their own account in June, did say he was still working as a clandestine official. They noted that officials who commented on the identity of this person who's running Iran operations at the CIA spoke on the condition of anonymity because he is still working on a clandestine basis, and this could obviously put his life in jeopardy if the Iranians figure it out, if other officials around the world figure it out. The New York Times, by the way, in their June account, justified publishing the name by saying, number one, his identity had been previously named in other news accounts, and they also fell back on the notion that since he's running Iran operations for President Trump, who is pushing a more muscular approach towards Tehran, it justified the New York Times publishing, at least in their eyes, the name of this clandestine official because they wanted to tell the public about the Trump administration's approach to Iran and how it was going to be more aggressive than the Obama administration and potentially even included attempts to overthrow the Iranian government. So this is a dramatic development tonight that the CIA director is saying that this could have put this official in jeopardy and that the name never should have been published, Dana.
I'm actually shocked because the Director Pompeo is showing a lot of restraint there. And I wonder if the New York Times, this is a justification as you just described it. I would love to go back and read all of those articles and editorials about Valerie Plame, okay, who was at a desk job at the CIA, not even, like, I don't even have to get into all of that. But the difference is, to me, that is very stark, what you just said. Before we take it around the table, can I ask you, do we know if the New York Times asked the administration for a comment, and if the CIA or the White House asked the New York Times not to release the name?
Well, the New York Times, to be fair, did not directly say that in the June account, whether or not the administration urged them to not publish it. But the way that the Times described the person's identity and the publishing of this account, it certainly sounded like, I can tell you as a reporter, that the administration was frustrated and angry that the New York Times was going to go forward with this account because they explained in the story, as I just quoted from it, the New York Times had to lay out why they felt justified. And again, they fell back on the notion that another unnamed news organization had named the CIA official, so they felt it was okay. And number two, they justified it, the New York Times, by saying, well, President Trump is leading a more muscular approach to Iran, so we need to tell the public who is this person leading the policy. Obviously, as you just heard from the CIA director, Dana, he is, to say the least, frustrated at the idea that this name would be revealed.
Well, if it's more muscular, hence you would need actually to keep him more covert so that he can do his actual job. We're going to